Good evening, everyone. This week's Parshas Vayechi, Tavshin Pei Hey. Okay, and just a quick summary of the beginning of the Parsha up to where we will begin our discussion. Yaakov has been living in Egypt. He makes Yosef swear that when he passes away, that Yosef will take him to Eretz Yisrael, to Hebron, to the Maras HaMachpelah, to be buried together with where Abraham and Yitzchak are buried. And Yosef promises Yaakov that. And then the Torah tells us that Yosef is told that Yaakov is sick, which means he is dying, and he brings his two sons. And there we have the famous story of where he sets up the sons in front of Yaakov, that Menashe, the oldest, should get Yaakov's right hand, which is the bigger bracha. Ephraim, the younger one, should get the left hand, and he switches his hand. And after he does so, and he explains to Yosef why he does so, and he gives the blessings to Menashe and Ephraim, he now addresses Yosef. And he says like this, Pasuk Chav Beis, this is already the second verse into what he says to Yosef, V'ani nasati locha shechem achal al achecha. And I have given you, Shechem, one portion, al achecha, over your brothers, asher lakachti miyad ha'amori, that I took from the hands of the Amorites, b'charbi b'kashi, with my sword and with my bow. So let's just examine these words. Yaakov says, Yaakov is saying this to Yosef. I have given you, Shechem achad, which we have to see how Rashi explains that word Shechem achad. But right now, we're just going to, Yaakov says to Yosef, I'm giving you Shechem achad, right now we'll just call it an extra portion over your brothers, asher lakachtem yad Amori, that I took from the Amorites with my sword and with my bow. So there's some kind of a portion here. There's something that Yaakov is giving to Yosef, and he's saying to Yosef, it's an extra portion over your brothers. Is there a problem?
No, it's good.
Okay. It's an extra portion over your brothers. I took it from the Amori. The Amori were a Canaanite nation, the land of Canaan. And I took with my sword and my bow, which sounds like he had a war. And in a war, he took this area from the Amorim, and he's giving it to Yosef. That's what the wording of the Torah seems to be saying. So Rashi has two explanations here. Rashi starts with an explanation that he's saying to Yosef, I am giving you. Why am I giving this, whatever I'm giving to you, this special gift, I'm giving it to you. Why am I giving it to you? I'm giving it to you because you are going through the bother of making sure that I get buried the way I want to. Right? It's Yosef's responsibility. He's the only one who can do it. And he made Yosef swear. And he says to Yosef, because of the fact that you are going through the bother, going through the responsibility and all the trouble for burying me, I am going to give you a special portion for your burial. You're going to get, I'm giving you, meaning besides the rest of the land of Israel, it's going to be divided up amongst the tribes, you, Yosef, are going to get a piece of land, an area, specially given to you as a reward because you are involved, you are taking care of my burial. I'm going to give you a piece of land for you to be buried in. Now, I don't know if you know about this, okay? But there now remember the city of Shechem? Remember Shechem? That was the city where Dinah was taken captive, and Shimon and Levi killed out the men of the city to free her. Okay, so according to Rashi's explanation, Yaakov is saying to Yosef, and I am giving you, again, a burial place because you are burying me, Shechem, the city of Shechem. That will be where you will be buried. Achad, as an extra portion, alachach, over your brothers. That's what he's saying. I'm giving you the city of Shechem for your burial place. In Eretz Yisrael nowadays, where we believe Yosef is buried, guess what city it is? Shechem. Present day, Eretz Yisrael. Now, there's something called Kever Yosef, the burial place of Yosef. It's a tradition. This is where Yosef is buried. And this is the area that's called Shechem.
But Shechem is part of Canaan?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Shechem happened when after Yaakov came back into Canaan.
Okay. But during they kill people, there was not part of.
Sure was. It was in Canaan.
But still people live.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So Yaakov is saying to Yosef, I am giving you Shechem as a burial place for going through the bother of burying me. Special gift to you over your brothers, an extra portion over your brothers, that I took from the Amorim with my sword and my bow. What's that talking about? And don't forget, this is are we referring to what Reuben and Shimon did? Reuben and Shimon, Yaakov was upset with Reuben and Shimon did.
Yes.
Right? So what does it mean that I took with my sword? And I took from the Amorim and I took it from with my sword and my bow. So Rashi explains what this means is that it doesn't exactly explain Amorim, but you'd have to say that the people involved in this war I'm going to talk about were the Amorim. But Rashi says, "B'charbi b'kashti kshahargu Shimon v'Levi anshe Shechem." After Shimon and Levi killed the city, killed the men of Shechem, niskansu kol sviveihem l'snavig lahem. So all the neighboring areas came together to fight a war with Yaakov and his family because of what Shimon and Levi did. V'charga Yaakov kli milchama kenegdan, and Yaakov had to gird himself with weapons to fight back. And it seems, and again, it would follow, the way I understand, okay, so now Yaakov says to Yosef, I am giving you Shechem that I took from the Amorim with my sword and my bow. Rashi says that's referring to the war he had to fight when the surrounding areas of Shechem came to fight with him. That is how Yaakov says, I took Shechem from the Amorim. That seems to have to follow, right? I'm giving you Shechem. I took it from the Amorim with my sword and bow, which Rashi says the war that he fought with the surrounding people from Shechem. That would seem to be saying that even after, Shimon and Levi killed out the men of Shechem, it says they took they looted Shechem. They took all the stuff out of Shechem. They took people out of Shechem. So it would seem that they already had conquered Shechem beforehand. But being that it was this war with the Amorim that kind of settled it, right? The Amorim, the people who were surrounding Yaakov wanted to come and kill him for what they did to the people of Shechem. Yaakov defeated them, and because he defeated them, that kind of secured their taking over the city of Shechem. This is what secured it for them. It's now, without any question, theirs. And he's saying, I give it to you, Yosef, for your burial place. That's what Rashi's first explanation is.
He mentions there is fighting.
Yeah, it says
Yaakov was the leader of.
He had to. First of all, Yaakov had a family. Yaakov had other people with him, so that's what it says. But he had to get ready for war. These people were about to come and attack them.
I read a completely different story because he's scary about war. There's nothing happened.
Here?
No, in
by Esav.
No, but
he got ready for war by Esav, and it didn't happen.
But
he didn't want Reuven and he was upset with Shimon and Levi because he was afraid of being attacked. And guess what? According to this Rashi, he was attacked and he had to fight back.
But it mentions he was scary about attack, but nobody attacked.
I don't know. That is how you would probably learn without this Rashi. Without this Rashi, you would learn that he was scared about being attacked and he wasn't attacked. And could be actually, I think you're right. It does say somewhere they were too scared to attack. I think you're right. It says that somewhere.
I read it because of Hamas. This kind of connection.
Connection?
No, but not need to do something, not care about other people.
No. But at the end of the day, that's what was Reuben and Shimon did it. That's Reuben and Shimon said they did it, right? But Yaakov was afraid of being attacked. But I think you're right. It does say somewhere that at the end they were too scared to attack him. But this Rashi is saying they did attack.
He mentioned he did.
Rashi's niskansu family is davig lehem. They gathered and Yaakov girded himself for war against them. Doesn't mean he got ready for war and nothing happened. Because it says he took it with my sword and my bow. So that simply means he had to fight a war against them. Okay, that's Rashi's first approach. Then Rashi's second approach is that it has nothing to do with actual city of Shechem. It has nothing to do with any kind of wars, but rather it means like this. When the pasuk says, I give you Shechem achar alachecha, it doesn't mean the city of Shechem. Shechem means a portion. I give you an extra portion over your brothers. Now, what that means is that we know in the Torah that when a person has a firstborn and he dies and his estate is divided up, the Bechar gets the double portion. When Eretz Yisrael was to be divided amongst the tribes, whoever was Yaakov's Bechar would get a double portion of the land. Now, who was Yaakov's actual firstborn? Ruvain. But he lost it. And here is where Yaakov gave it to Yosef. When Ruvain no more had the right to it, Yaakov now gave it to Yosef. And that's what he's saying right now. I am giving you an extra portion over your brothers. Shechem echad yabachayr, Rashi says. The Shechem echad, the extra portion, is the firstborn. Shitlu barav shnei chalakim, that his sons, Menashe and Ephraim, who already previously Yaakov elevated them to the level of tribes to a certain degree, they are going to be that double portion. Yosef is going to get a double portion of the land, and it will be divided amongst his sons, their tribes, Menashe and Ephraim. Okay, that's the explanation of that part of the pasuk. When it says I'm giving Shechem echad alachecha, doesn't mean an extra portion out of something more. It means the double portion of the firstborn right that the firstborn of Yaakov gets a double portion of the land of Israel. You are getting it, Yosef, and it's going to be given to you, which means his children, Menashe and Ephraim, each as a tribe, are going to get a double portion of the land. Now we got to read the rest of the pasuk. Asher lakach now, so we're going on the firstborn right.
This is why double.
But that's the way it is. Okay. That's the firstborn right. Okay. Now, Asher lakachti miyad Amori. Yaakov says, I took it. I took what? The firstborn right? Because that's what we're talking about. From the Amori. From an Amorite? From a Canaanite? Who did he take the firstborn right from? Esav. Right? Esav was the older one. Esav was supposed to have the firstborn right. Yaakov bought it from him. Yaakov got the blessings from Yitzchak. He didn't take it from an Amori. He took it from Esav. Esav wasn't an Amori. Mm-hmm. Says Rashi, Esav acted like an Amori. Meaning, we're talking about, the Amori here means Esav. But Esav was wicked, and he was behaved like an Amori. So Yaakov called him an Amori. That's one explanation. Second explanation is, the word Amori, look at the word in Hebrew, Amori. There's a word in there, Amar. You know what the word Amar means? To say. He's calling Esav an Amori because Esav was a talker. Right? Esav used to fool his father to think that he was this tzaddik by asking him all the questions. Right? We say Esav used to hunt his father with his mouth. So therefore, Yaakov calls Esav an Amori, not because it means an Amorite, but it means he was a talker. I took the double portion from the talker, from Esav. Now, how did I take it from him? Let's just read we have to go through the rest of the pasuk. B'charbi u'b'kasha, I took with my sword and my bow. Really? You took from Esav the firstborn right with a sword and a bow? You did not do that. Says Rashi, B'charbi kashti here means not literal, but rather the words cherev, which means a sword, and kashti means my bow, are a metaphor for, says Rashi, hi chachmasi, this is my wisdom, utfilasi, and my prayer. So we put it all together. Yaakov is saying that I'm giving you the double portion in the land of Israel as the firstborn, and I took it from Esav with my wisdom and my prayer. Okay, what wisdom, what prayer? What are we talking about here? Now, the fact that the Torah calls this wisdom Yaakov's referring to as a sword, the commentaries say from that you see that we're not talking about, Yaakov outsmarted Esav. Esav was really hungry, and Yaakov saw the opportunity to get the firstborn right from him. Maybe that's the wisdom. That wouldn't be called a sword. A sword has a much broader meaning. And therefore, they say, that's how I understand why they say this. Chachmasi, the commentaries on Rashi say, means my Torah wisdom. In the merit of my Torah wisdom. And tfilasi means in the merit of my prayer. Now, there's a commentary on Rashi called Maskela David. And from the Maskela David, from his comment, I think we can get some insight here as to get a fuller understanding of Rashi. The Maskela David says, okay, according to Rashi, the Torah was using a metaphor. The metaphor for Torah is a sword. The metaphor for prayer is a bow and arrow. Why? Why is that the metaphor for them? Says the Maskela David, Torah is compared to a sword, because a sword, a warrior holds the sword in his hand, right? And when an enemy comes, he uses it to either beat back the enemy or to actually protect himself from the enemy. He always has it in his hand. It's always with him. And it's always there to protect him. Torah, we know, as Talmud says this, Talmud Insight, I believe it is, tells us that Torah protects a person. When a person studies Torah properly, it protects a person whether he is studying Torah or whether he's not studying Torah. Torah is like the sword. It's always with you. It's always there to protect you. Why is prayer compared to a bow and arrow? Says the Maskela David, when you shoot a bow, right? When you shoot the arrow's gone. It's not with you anymore. It's gone. Okay. And it has a specific direction. Says the Maskela David, prayer works that when you ask for something, that's what it works towards. Torah has this more broader protection on a person, right? Whether you're studying it, you're not studying it, it's going to protect you. Prayer works like an arrow. It goes in a certain direction, and that's where it goes, and that's where it works. And once you use it, it's done. However, there is a benefit that an arrow has over a sword. An arrow can go after your enemy from who's far away, right? The sword you can only deal with up close. The arrow can even go far away. Says the Maskela David, what that means is that there are times where actually prayer helps where Torah doesn't help. There are times where prayer will be a merit where Torah cannot be a merit. Now, so that
Torah is not always.
Sometimes a person needs prayer. Torah will not be enough. The example that the Talmud gives, and I didn't look this up, but the Talmud gives an example of Moshe.
You pray even when fighting, Torah helps.
No, this is Gemara and Brachas. I'm not sure what the Gemara is referring to. Gemara is trying to say there was a point where Moshe, with all his merits from Torah and everything, it was only prayer that helped him. I'm not sure what that's referring to. It's just saying that, the analogy to an arrow is similar to the benefit that an arrow has, that it can do even something more than a sword can do. Okay, now, according to what the Maskela David is explaining, when Yaakov says, I took the firstborn right from Esav with my Torah, it means the Torah that I studied, right? Yaakov, we know, studied Torah. And Yaakov is saying, what was the merit that got me, what was one of the things that helped me succeed in being able to get the firstborn right from Esav? That I was able to succeed in it, and maybe not have to face any repercussions from Esav because of it? My Torah. That's one thing. My Torah study. His Torah study. The merit of the Torah that he studied was something that enabled him to secure the firstborn right from Esav. Another thing that he says helped was his prayer. Now, the analogy to prayer, said the Maskela David, was prayer works towards where you directed it. According to that, it would sound like when Yaakov says, my prayer helped me, which prayer? Because he davened in general? From the analogy that prayer means something that you directed towards something specific, right? It would sound like what Yaakov is saying is that, you know what, when I got the first right from Esav, you know what else I did? It doesn't say it in the Chumash when he bought it, when he did it, but you know what else I did? I davened. I prayed to Hashem that I should succeed. And that helped me too. So Yaakov is saying to Yosef now that even though, right, when you see the story of getting the firstborn right, which was that he bought the firstborn right from Esav. Esav was hungry. Esav was tired. It was an opportunity to be able to take the Bechor away from him. And it seems like Yaakov just, played his time smart and he got the firstborn right. And doesn't seem like there was something more involved. Says Yaakov to Yosef, there was something more involved. There was the merit of my Torah, and there was the prayer that I offered. It doesn't say he offered any prayer. It doesn't, and it doesn't mean that necessarily, when did he offer this prayer? I don't know. Maybe he offered the prayer before he did it. Maybe he was praying while he was doing it. Whatever it may be. The point is, though, Yaakov is now revealing to us another part of those episodes, of that episode of taking the firstborn right from Esav, that it came together with the merit of his Torah, and it came together with the merit of his praying. What praying? It would seem that there was a direct praying about getting the firstborn right, that when Yaakov was doing it, he prayed to Hashem for success, and he got that success. It's interesting that Yaakov says, I got the firstborn right because of my wisdom and my prayer. So you could say, what do you mean wisdom and prayer? You gave him bread and a bowl of soup. That's how you got the firstborn right. But there's a commentary in the Medrash called Yefei Torah that says, Yaakov means to say, yeah, sure. To get Esav to agree, he gave him bread and he gave him bread and the lentils. But for Hashem to agree to it, for Hashem to agree that Yaakov should be able to get the firstborn right, that needed the spiritual merits of his learning and of his prayer. Which again, it doesn't sound like because Yaakov prayed in general, that was a merit. It seems, the way from the Maskela David explains the analogy to the bow and arrow, that just like an arrow has a specific direction, prayer has to have a specific direction. That's where it works. And it would seem there was a direct prayer from Yaakov about succeeding here in getting the firstborn right. So this would be Rashi's second explanation. Now, I want to share with you a fascinating medrash. Similar medrash, the medrash says something, says what Rashi says, but adds something to it. You ready for this? Okay. When Yaakov says, I'm giving you shkameracha lachecha, an extra portion on your brothers, over your brothers, it's referring to the Bechor. It's referring to the firstborn right. Okay. It's referring to the firstborn right, says the Medrash. Zoha Bechora, the extra portion is the firstborn right. Ulavushe shel Adam Harishain. And the garment of Adam Harishain, the garment of the first man, that I took from Esav. And how did I get it? How did I get the firstborn right and this garment of Adam Harishain, of the first man? B'charbi Makashti, which the Medrash calls my sword and my bow and my bow, mitzvahs and ma'asim tovim, mitzvahs and good deeds. Doesn't say the word. Chachma says mitzvahs and ma'asim tovim. Okay, so what's this garment of Adam Harishain? What are we talking about? What are we talking about here? So there is another Medrash known as Targum Yerushalmi that says like this. Targum Yerushalmi says, okay, I'm giving you an extra portion over your brother, the garment of the first man, that Avram Avinu, my father's father, meaning my grandfather, Abraham, took from Nimrod. Remember Nimrod? So Nimrod had this garment from Adam Harishain, from the first man, whatever this garment was exactly. He had it from Adam Harishain. Nimrod got it. Abraham took it from Nimrod. V'yaveh liYitzchak, and he gave the garment to Yitzchak, my father. V'Yitzchak Yahaveh, who did Yitzchak give that garment to? Esav. Esav was his firstborn. Remember how when Yaakov went and when Rivka told Yaakov to pretend he's Esav, so what did she dress him in? Esav's clothing that she had. As Bigdei HaChamudos, the special clothing that Esav had, that she had by him, that Esav used to wear. It says Esav would wear it whenever he came to serve his father, a special garment. And that special garment is what Yaakov put on when he got the blessings instead of Esav. These special garments, this is what we're talking about. This is the special garments. And I took it from Esav, my brother. I guess that means when he put it on, he got the firstborn blessing. Esav understood that he keeps those garments. So in this whole discussion about what the extra portion to Yosef is, I'm giving you the Shchemecha, the firstborn right, and those garments. You get those garments. What's the big fuss about those garments? I mean, it has an interesting story to it, but why is it part of the discussion? So the answer is like this. The commentaries explain that these garments of Adam Harishon were garments that Adam Harishon put on. It says Hashem gave him clothing. But the Medrash says that he wore this clothing when he offered sacrifices to Hashem. Medrash says Adam Harishon brought sacrifices to Hashem, and he wore these garments when he did it. It sounds like these garments are like which garments? The Kohen, right? It sounds like the Kohen's garments. Who were supposed to be the Kohanim? Who were supposed to be the Kohanim originally?
Levi.
What? The firstborn.
Yeah.
The firstborn. Any firstborn was supposed to be.
Before.
And before the whole story with the golden calf, everybody was supposed to be any firstborn was to be a Kohen. So what now happens is like this: the firstborn right that was now by Esav and going to Yaakov was, yes, about a double portion of land, but it's also about who is going to have the divine worship. The divine worship to God that will be part of the future of the legacy of Avram and Yitzchak. Who's going to have that? The firstborn. The firstborn is supposed to be Esav. Yaakov took it from Esav. Yaakov took that firstborn right of the divine worship from Esav. And who did he give it to, according to this medrash? To Yosef. He's a firstborn. He gets it. Which would have to mean that, according to the way speaks were supposed to be, Yosef would have had it somehow, and he'd have those garments because he was the firstborn of Yaakov. But again, the whole worship I don't think it means that the worship would only have been in the hands of Yosef, but it means at least these garments, as Yosef of that firstborn of Yaakov, he would have these garments because these garments are not just some interesting coming along. These garments are what represents the firstborn right of the divine worship. So therefore, there's a very important mention of mentioning this special garment when he tells Yosef, I'm giving you the firstborn right. Because these garments of Adam Harishon, they were considered garments of the Kohen. They were the garments to be worn when there's divine worship. And therefore, when the firstborn right is being given to Yosef, he's getting those garments, because those garments would represent what was part of the firstborn right originally, which was the kahuna, the divine worship of bringing sacrifices. Have a wonderful evening.
Why didn't say